Send me.
No flowers.
Send me no flowers today.
Send me no flowers.
Send me no flowers today.
According to an article dated August 16, 1888 in the Kansas Catholic, there are no flowers on the casket. No floral display will be made as recommended in Catholic funerals. So it seems that in the 1800s, flowers were not recommended at most Catholic funerals. In 1903, the Intermountain Catholic wrote, "Flowers are appropriate at funerals of children only, whom depart this life in their baptismal innocence, and that flowers at funerals of adults is a pagan custom and is not Christian." Here's a Q&A that appeared in the Catholic Advance on June 22nd of 1912. A reader asked, "What is the reason that flowers are not allowed to be put on the casket at church at Catholic funerals? What supposed harm should flowers make in such a case?" And the priest answered, "From the point of view of the church, it is not permissible to put flowers on a coffin except for an innocent child. The use of flowers at funerals is an un-Catholic practice, no matter how much their presence may be an evidence of the esteem and affection. The use of floral tributes at funerals originated in Protestant countries as a result of the inadequate appreciation of the evils and consequences of sin and the abandonment of the doctrine of purgatory." So flowers were the only means left to the non-Catholics for showing affection and esteem for the departed, as they did not believe in the efficacy of prayers for the dead. The reason their use is not permitted, as you suggest, because they do harm to the deceased, but actually because it's not rubrical. In many places, however, the church does tolerate them at funerals. The custom of sending floral wreaths is very common nowadays, and Catholics often show their affection for the dead this way. That is all right as far as it goes, but it must not be allowed to take place of the prayers and good works and masses that Catholics should offer up for the soul of the departed. If Catholics would devote 1/2 of the money spent on flowers to procuring masses for the departed soul, expiating its sins in purgatory, they would do a greater service to the dead than they do now by indulging in a natural but wholly unprofitable sentiment. The Catholic Advance did a follow-up Q&A on the topic in January of 1916, and someone asked, "Is it right to have a gorgeous display of flowers heaped upon the casket at a Catholic funeral?" And the answer was, "Flowers symbolize the love the sender has for the departed and a sympathy for those in sorrow. In this they are of value and duly appreciated. But it's not the flowers that the priest blesses at the foot of the altar, nor is it a mark of the Christian faith to use flowers to hide from ourselves the presence of the thought of death. Consequently, it is not according to the general custom of the church to admit flowers even inside the church. If flowers are brought with the funeral, they are sent aside in the vestibule of the church during religious services. In the case of the burial of an infant, that is, one who has not come to the use of reason, it is proper to place flowers upon the casket and leave them to remain there while the prayers are said. The flowers in that case signify the perfect innocence and purity of the soul of the child. For the same reason, a white casket is commonly used." Several years later, on May of 1936, the Catholic advanced still another similar question and provided a similar answer. The priest answered, "Why be so lovingly modern as to drown the casket in flowers, but never have a holy mass celebrated, nor ever say a prayer for the repose of the soul of the departed? Men like to hide death. No wreath of flowers, however beautiful, will take away the reality. Every man must die." According to this article from 1914, flowers will be prohibited at funerals in Catholic churches in the Kansas City Diocese. A letter to the effect was read in all Catholic churches in the diocese in July of 1914. The order suggests that the practice of sending flowers to the home is also discouraged. Instead, it is suggested that a memorial card with a few words of sincere sympathy would be more appropriate. The bishop's circular read, "It is to be deplored that Catholic funerals are frequently made the occasion of useless and extravagant expenditures for floral tributes. These offerings of flowers may add to public display and for that reason be welcome to the family in grief, but the practice savors of vanity and not seldom works hardship on those who cannot afford it. It too often happens that those who are limited in means and already overwhelmed with debt are forced by prevailing custom to add to their obligations because a friend has passed away, and flowers must be purchased to remind the bereaved relatives that the deceased is not forgotten. How much more acceptable to the living and profitable to the one that is gone would be a memorial card sent to the family conveying a few sincere words of sympathy and a promise of some prayers for the repose of the soul of the departed. We know the meaningless waste of money on the occasion of funerals often results in depriving the deceased of the greatest blessing which gratitude and love can bestow, the holy sacrifice of the Mass. Since the Second Vatican Council, the custom of encouraging prayers and discouraging flowers has mostly disappeared. It still exists in the Rockford Diocese, but only for priests, and according to the diocese website, are flowers permitted to be alongside the casket of a priest? Floral arrangements are not placed at the casket. A couple of arrangements may be placed in the church at the pastor's discretion. A table will be in the foyer for flowers and/or photo exhibits of the priest's life. It is best to note, in lieu of flowers, etc., in the newspaper obituary. The custom seems more prevalent in traditional churches than in the Novus Ordo Church. According to channel contributor Ryan Garcia, it is still practiced at Our Lady of Victory's Church, which is an SSPX church in Quezon City in the Philippines. However, it's still hit and miss, even at traditional churches. For instance, a few days ago we ran a poll on this channel and asked, does your church prohibit flowers at a funeral? A lot of the respondents didn't know, but only 4% said that it's still practiced at their church compared to 56% who said that it was not practiced at their church. So in conclusion, it seems that there was a general, though not universal, custom of the church not to have flowers at the funerals of Catholic adults. Flowers were believed to be a distraction from the duty of the survivors to pray for the dead. Since small children were innocent and didn't need prayers, flowers were allowed at their funerals. So, what are the fruits of abandoning this custom? Nowadays, if you suggest to a family that their deceased relatives need our prayers, you run a real risk of insulting the family. After all, they've been telling each other that their relative is now another angel in heaven, so why should he need any prayers? Moderns have ratcheted up things another level and now opt for celebrations of life when a person dies, and this practically ensures that no one will see any need whatsoever to pray for the departed. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty tired of not being able to learn the Catholic faith from Catholic priests. Instead, I need to go to history textbooks and old newspaper archives to learn it there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again within a week with another one. But in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page and my Twitter page. Every day I post additional content that you won't find on this YouTube channel. And also, please pray for the church.
Tell her to pray for